Right, morning, Tuesday morning. And for a change, I'm not going to hand over to Lee to kick off the session, seeing that this was Trevor's idea and Trevor's question to the forum. So maybe Trevor, you can kick off and explain where your thinking is and what you're looking for.
No, well, I just posed the question of how people are working with COVID-19, how it's affecting them currently, and what their future views are, particularly for themselves. I'd like to know what's going through people's minds. I know what's going through my mind. I don't want to influence people, and I just want to get a really dipstick feel of how people are feeling, what they believe is going to happen. Are things going to change for them? Are they not going to change? How they're planning their lifestyle? How they're not planning their lifestyle? So just your thoughts. What's the impact on you currently? What do you believe it's going to be in the future? So therefore, what are you doing? What are you not doing? Just general opinions on COVID-19 and its effect on you here in business. I was going to say in South Africa, but there, Kevin, as well. I'd like to hear those inputs.
All right, great. Thanks, Trevor. So yeah, let's maybe start with someone in the UK. So Kevin, let's start with you, seeing that Trevor mentioned you. What are your thoughts?
Morning all. Sorry, I missed it all yesterday, but yeah, back on it today. Yeah, it's the lockdown caused by COVID-19. Then I find it's been very positive for me. Before the lockdown, our business was growing, but not very, very big. And then COVID came along. We all got on the Zoom calls and social media and boosted. And that social media is a big thing around our business. And I've learned an awful lot about how you use social media better in the 3 months that's gone by. And doing these Zooms, I never thought 3-4 months ago I'd be doing Zooms 4, 5, 6 times a day. I was struggling to, working out how to do it first. But yeah, I mean, on the social media is driving our business. The only outside factor that's not is we do come across some people say, well, yeah, I love the idea, I want to come on board, but let's get over this hump first and get my financial situation right before I join. So there are a few that are affected like that, but the majority are, let's go for it, and when it's booming. It's people building for themselves for their future, and the idea of getting a plan B has never been so popular. In case something happens again, people want to be able to rely on themselves, not rely on government and funding. So that's helping as well. And the overall impact of, I found out at the weekend, my individual business within the whole in the UK, I'm the second highest ranked business in the UK at the moment within the P2S group. So yeah, I'm happy and delighted. I think when it's all over, it'll be nice to get back to seeing some people face to face as part of the business, but it's not the requirement anymore. That's a bonus. Yeah, so it's all positive.
Good, thanks, Kevin. Always good to have some positive spins on it. But let's go to someone who's been in a little bit of a tighter corner. So Jasper, your thoughts, where you are and where you think you're going with your businesses and how it's affected you.
I almost want to say, like Trevor, I'd rather not say something to influence people. It is real. People are dying of it. We had our first death within gig with one of our Congolese group, where the wife died. The husband is also in hospital now, and you know Muzi Kubeka, Trevor. He's also been diagnosed positively, so he's in quarantine. So it's real. Business-wise, it's been totally devastating for the guest house industry. And although we are now officially open, it's now a matter of people don't have the money to travel anymore. So I think for a long time, both the accommodation and the conferencing will be severely affected. I think in the long term, people have moved over to Zoom, so there's no need for conferencing as the industry knew it. And I think of places like Gallagher Estates and places like that. I don't know how they're going to recover, because apart from political parties, people are going to rather focus on Zoom. You can do much more, much faster. So yeah, I think the whole industry is in a rethink. Accommodation, they will always recover because that's one of the needs of people to travel and stay over. So from a business perspective, we've been affected. We're looking at some repurposing, and so anyone who wants to talk to me with ideas and come on board as an equity partner, we're in that process right now to look at equity partners and repurposing. In terms of COVID, we are taking all the necessary precautions. The reality is still out there that, yes, it's a very infectious disease. My personal, well, not my personal opinion, the reality is 98% of people recover from it anyway, from their own immune system. So the issue there is build up your immune system. People who die are normally people who have had compromised issues before, like diabetes or something else. But it's still something to take seriously. So big thing is, I think what irked me is when you are an adult and you can think things for yourself, and then you get politicians silly laws that has nothing to do with the COVID, and then I think it destroys the credibility around something that may have a legitimate purpose and cause. So that's my input.
Right, thanks, Jasper. Cecile, you want to have a quick word?
Yeah, sorry guys, my video is off because I'm expecting all the WhatsApps to come in. That has been an interesting time, and Trevor just asked me, have I made a fortune? If all the people that ask you for any of the PPE stuff that I've been selling, if they are all legitimate, yes, then one could actually make some money. But my word, you cannot believe how many scamsters there are out there, suppliers that say they're suppliers, and when you get to the warehouses, there's absolutely nothing there. People, and there's it's a really, no one trusts each other. Buyers don't trust sellers, sellers don't trust buyers. So people want to buy 1 million masks, and they've got to put up, or 10 million masks, and they've got to put up the 15 million rand, but the buyer doesn't want to put his money on the table because he doesn't trust that the seller is there. And then, or on the other hand, the seller wants to see the money, and it must lie in his account for a day. There's absolutely no honor in this PPE business whatsoever, because no one trusts anyone. So I'd rather do I have been doing, in April and May, it's been good months. June's quiet, so it's smaller quantities of people that I can trust, and it comes back to trust. I remember when I first joined Fourways Chamber, when I was actually talking about trust, why I want to come to Fourways, so you can do business with people you trust. Well, it's even more so now, because even some of my telecoms, because my telecoms business is still in the background, it's still there, but some of those customers they're using COVID as an excuse not to pay for their fiber. So who has to carry them? I have to, because if they cancel, then it means it's a bigger impact on me, and I get slapped with immediate penalties. So yeah, so it's been a juggling of kind of funds, and trying to do business with the people that I can trust, of my old customers, or word of mouth of old customers that have referred PPE customers onto us. When it comes to the actual COVID, I've only known one person that's had COVID, and she's a physiotherapist in Cape Town, a friend, but she's not sick at all. But she has to go through the COVID process. But what scares me a little bit is when I hear of people that get COVID, but it's months later and they're still sick. So who wants to be sick with other things that are probably COVID related, even if you were a healthy person? So yeah, so those are my thoughts. So I'm trying to juggle both, and as I say, do business with people that I can trust. Yeah.
Thanks, Cecile. Yeah, lots of minefields to navigate always in business, but this seems to have raised a few extra ones, doesn't it? Right, Herman, let's get across to you and find out what's been keeping you so busy and what your thoughts are around the whole situation.
I'd like to look at the whole thing a little bit more from a global or a societal kind of aspect. I see the whole pandemic as a huge opportunity for real transformation, and provided, of course, that we are realizing that drastic change is needed. And I would really like to see that the whole COVID-19 serves as an eye-opener. Symbolic reforms won't do it anymore. And I think our government and the handling of the situation is a typical example of symbolic action. Just one example, the IMF made $7 billion available in March already, and our government still hasn't made a decision, even though they are not the same strict kind of demands the IMF normally combines with loans. But what is more important is that, are we seeing as individuals really the pain in the other's eyes? And are we willing not only to see it, but to feel it ourselves? Plus, realizing that the inequality, which has been there already and has been deepened or made more obvious through the whole crisis, are we as a society willing to, on the one hand, acknowledge that it exists, but more importantly, are we willing to do something about it? And the final thing is that there are quite a few pockets of people who like to see change, but unfortunately we work in isolation. And for me, the change and the shift is of tectonic proportions that is required, and we cannot act in isolation. One example are the wisdom sheds. It's all very well that there are 10, 15, maybe 20 people meeting and having intelligent conversations. But these conversations, in my opinion, need to filter out in order to make an impact and contribute to the change we need, because we do need change. And the final observation, what I found quite interesting, is that it appears to me that the majority of the pandemic deniers are the same people who deny that climate change exists. I don't know whether you did a similar kind of observation. Thanks.
Thanks, Herman. Yeah, it's some important things, and I think you pose a good question. You know, how do you extend something like this out into the market to make an impact? And for me, I suppose the only way is for each of us to see who we can invite to get in to come and join, and you know, create the concentric circles of people actually getting involved. So yeah, Edward, let's come across to you and see what your thoughts are.
Financially, it hasn't really had much of an impact on me, because my business model is all about doing stuff I want to do but not having to pay for it. But what it has meant is I haven't been doing the stuff I want to do. I was supposed to be going to an event in Scotland. I was supposed to be going to Singapore. I was supposed to be going to Romania. I was supposed to be going to Spain. That hasn't happened. My only trip left is to South Africa in October, and I doubt very much that will happen. And so it's affected me that way of not traveling, but it's actually also enriched my life, because I've managed to attend plenty of events online that I wouldn't have gone to normally. I went to a fantastic event in Singapore, a green conference, and that really blew my mind up, because I was participating with, I mean, there was one panel session where one member of the panel was in Singapore, one was in Korea, one was in Australia, and one was in France. And I think at home, you never get that mix of different views, different opinions. So that's been really enriching. And being on here is another example. I would never have done this, naturally. But on the cynical side, I don't think we are going to change. I think everyone talks about change, but it won't happen, because of all the forces that are stopping it. It's like people said they were going to drive less. 40% of all British drivers said they would drive less. We're getting back to the same level of driving as we were before. And the government have just announced that as part of the kickstart, they're going to rebuild, restart the old sort of projects, the road projects, the big building projects, just like they did before. When they bailed out the airlines, they had a great chance to impose carbon neutral targets on them. They didn't. Big business is going to be big business, and it will stop any movement for change. I hope it's different in other countries. The fascinating thing for me, I was looking at South Africa's COVID statistics. Your range of people affected is completely different from the UK. Almost all the deaths in the UK have been in the over 80s, whereas the deaths in South Africa have been a much younger group, and I wondered why that was. But also in the UK, much more men are affected than women, but it seems roughly equal in South Africa. So I'd be interested to see what we can get out of the demographic effects. Does it tell us anything about poverty, equal rights, distribution of wealth, that sort of stuff? And then maybe that will drive a revolution, a change, if we see how deprivation affects people's health. Maybe that will be the driver for social change. So those are my thoughts.
Great, thanks, Edward. Yeah, some interesting points you make there, and hadn't looked at the stats in that particular way myself. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it pans out across the world in the different demographics and what kind of results come back once these big waves are past. Some interesting challenges ahead, I think. Right, Lee, let's come across to you for a change.
Well, in some ways my life hasn't changed. In some ways it's changed completely. So I've always worked from home. I've been working from home almost my whole life. So having a desk here and working from home has not been a problem. Certainly the amount of screen time that I'm spending versus actually visiting clients or delivering at clients, or one of my biggest clients is the University of Mpumalanga, and I was driving to Nelspruit, to Mbombela, I don't know, maybe at least once a month, if not twice a month. So that stopped. And but that project is actually now picking up, and it's going to happen virtually. So as an educator, as somebody who is involved in adult education, as well as, yeah, I mean, let's make it as broad as that. I definitely don't think that we're going to go back to face-to-face training in the same way as we did before. I think people are still going to long for personal interaction, but I think we're going to use a much more combined approach, what they call blended learning, where it's a bit of online, a bit of face-to-face, a bit of webinars, which actually I think is a much better way of learning. It's a more consistent way of getting information, of processing it in the company of others. And this Wisdom's Chats is a perfect example of it. And that's certainly been a change for me, is, you know, we started this as a let's see what will happen. I've actually been going back over our videos at the beginning, right from the beginning. And it's fascinating just to see, you know, we just decided to do it as an experiment. Let's see if we can get a group of people to stay positive and to have really good thinking conversations during these times. And met the most incredible people. And I think that's the thing that I found the most amazing, is that from my desk, from my laptop, I've met more people and more diverse people across countries and industries than I have you know, being in my car, and I've realized how the world opens up when you through digital, and I don't think that's going to change. I think people are going to think twice about whether they actually have to meet somebody face to face. I think that's going to affect the airline industries. I think people will travel for leisure much more than they're going to travel for business. Because of costs. I think our economy, the problems in our economy is going to be ongoing, and I think businesses are constantly going to be managing costs. So I think business travel is going to plummet. But I think, and in terms of other things that have been affected, my youngest daughter's in theatre, and she's lost her job, she's lost her industry. And it's been devastating, not only that she's lost her industry, it's not just that she's lost her job, just the industry in South Africa, the industry in the world. And when you have this, I mean, she was born for the theatre. This is something that is intrinsic and in her skin. And to love somebody who has lost something that is so precious to them, it's been hard. See her go through that. Sorry, I didn't realize it would be so emotional. But yeah, it is real. I know lots of people who have COVID, who have had it, family members, friends. So nobody has been seriously ill. So yes, it is a reality and something that I think we have to, COVID's not going to go away. We have to live with COVID for the rest of our lives. And forever. It's here to stay. We just now need to manage it and keep praying for a vaccine.
Thanks, Lee. Yeah, it's tough when you have these very personal impacts. You know, it's easy to talk about the big picture and global things, but when it comes home, it's hard, isn't it? Right. I'd love to hear from one of the researchers amongst us. Umpo, what are your thoughts?
I'm assuming the other researcher is Mpome. Yeah, it's been an interesting time. On a personal level, I lost my aunt. It took all of 5 days. We're burying her tomorrow. So Tuesday she complained of a sore throat. Wednesday she had a cough. Thursday she went to the ER. Friday she was admitted. There was no ventilator. Saturday morning she had died. So so kind of now we creating all these spider webs, who was with who did what with who, and there's all this testing going on, and isolation and just anxiety and stress. Now my daughter thinks that we're all going to die. She's obsessed with her mask and stuff. Yeah, so that's and that has psychologically impacted me in terms of, you know, I've got that personality that makes me believe that I'm invincible, and this has really shaken my very foundation, especially when it comes to my kids. I actually don't know. Yeah, I'm just devastated. I don't know how to be. And in terms of also how this has impacted me, I think I've seen, I won't say more, but I think I've looked at Black suffering in a different eye during this time. And it's set on my soul in a different way. And I think I've been spending a lot of time kind of saying, you know, what is my role in the world, and selfishly saying, and in the world, not for everybody, but for Black people. You know, so that has become all consuming for me to say, how do we shift as Black people from a mindset of looking outward? I think we're spending far too much time. Yesterday I was looking at communication about Kuro. You know, people were saying, oh, Kuro is separating Black people from white people. Like, I mean, you know, and my thinking is, you know, if people want to separate people or they want to do whatever they want to do, the amount of energy we're exerting, blaming other people, how can we redirect that to build ourselves, to transform ourselves, to empower ourselves? So that has really, really been all-consuming. Every day, all day, it really is something that I think about, that how do we shift from looking outward to looking inward and transforming ourselves, even if in the smaller scale, but 20 years from now, we would have achieved something. So that's been really big. And on the corporate side, I was really, really hoping that we would be having different conversations now. But yeah, we're still talking about numbers. We're still talking about the bottom line. We're still talking about shareholders, and everything is urgent, and everybody's mad as always. You know, nobody's like really having profound conversations about the role of brands and you know, yeah, you know, we still have those tick boxes of CSI that, okay, we'll do this and that. But hey, man, it remains about the bottom line. It remains about the numbers. It remains about the shareholders. And yeah, so that side of my life, nothing has changed. Instead, it's actually the pressure is worse. The demands are worse. The targets are worse. And of course, a few of my clients received retrenchment letters. So divisions are being dissolved. So marketing, insights, research as we know it, that's all being consolidated, internalizing a lot of processes, cutting budgets. So yeah, so that's going to have a big impact in our industry. Mpumi, I hope you're ready for the changes and you're positioning yourself to offer different solutions. And yeah, so, and my teaching business has grown, so I'm being asked to teach more, and you know, to come and help SMEs, you know, with just consumer focus, you know, and innovation solutions around product development. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Mpo. And yeah, very sorry to hear of your loss and the challenges it's posing for you and your family. Very difficult, I'm sure. And yeah, the work changes and pressures, I'm sure, don't make it any easier either. So yeah, well, our thoughts are with you. Polelo, let's come across to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It is just interesting to hear how everybody else is affected by COVID in different ways. And to those who are going through a difficult time, we pray that you find solace in some way. Look, on my side, where COVID has been positive is that it's given the time to rethink how one is doing things, to plan, so time for planning and rethinking and strategizing. Because of the shutdown, one has found himself with a lot of time to do that, which I've appreciated, even from a business and a family side, because in terms of family, there's a lot of spending time together, talking about things. And that for me has entrenched a lot of good things, a lot of clear thinking in terms of business and mind and so forth. Obviously, there hasn't been sales in terms of putting invoices and the likes, but I'm liking what I'm building, and I'm liking that I've had the time to think it through and to build it in that particular way. As you would know, I started a whole leadership and management program, and so a lot of effort has been going into that. I've been doing a lot of research with HR people. That's what I'm still busy with as well, but also just talking to different executives. So that has been a very interesting time, that all of a sudden I'm meeting all these people in good and high positions and having very serious and important conversations with them. A lot is coming through in terms of understanding corporate South Africa. So from that perspective, it really has been great. I do have some worries though, talking about the future, because part of Trevor's question was about the future. For me, what I'm seeing in terms of the future is that there's therefore going to be more consultants in the space, right? More people working from home. And I work from a consulting space, so there's going to be more of us. So what does it mean in terms of competition? What does it mean in terms of one positioning themselves? My second worry is that everything is moving online. So if everything is moving online, it means there's going to be high traffic there. If there's high traffic, what does it mean for everyone else who's online? How do you differentiate yourself when last year it was 10,000 businesses, this year it's 1 million businesses? The third one goes to a much bigger picture of saying we already have disparities in our country. And therefore, if everything is moving online, what does it mean for those who've always been left behind? Does it mean the gap is even getting bigger? I'm looking at my children now and looking at my nephew. My children have been able to do online classrooms. They're up to date with the curriculum they're doing. But my niece, who lives a much more different life to them, has not been doing school since lockdown happened. What does it mean for those types of children and so forth? And obviously disparities comes with a lot of other bigger problems in the country. So that's where a little bit of my worry is as well. So in terms of the future, that's what I'm thinking.
Thanks, Mpulelo. Yeah, a lot of adjustments and rethinking needs to be done, doesn't it, around all of these elements? Yeah, how do we solve those problems? It's some very good questions there. Stella, let's come across to you.
Morning, everybody. Before I go to the more positive side of this time for me, the less positive things for me at the moment is hearing about all the people that die, especially, I'm so sorry for your loss, Umpo. I just heard a similar case yesterday of a friend of mine where a grandmother was 87 and also contracted the virus. And they said to her, sorry, we can't do anything for her. We need the ventilator for a younger person that's got a higher possibility of surviving. So that really broke my heart to hear that. Second of all, because my family is so far away, my brother sits in the Netherlands, my daughter's in South Korea, my father, my sister is in KZN. So I haven't got a close family by, and I'm dreading the day that one of them are maybe getting sick and you're not able to visit them in hospital, even for if friends get maybe ill, and just the thought of that person maybe dying alone and you're not there to support them in the last hours. I think I don't wish it on anybody. So and then also my babies at the baby house, I miss them so much. I just want, they're getting so big now, and I'm seeing photos. Some of them were 3 months when I started to get to know them, and they're toddlers and they're running around, and they're nearly 2 years old, and I'm not seeing them. And we received a new baby at the baby house and I'm not able to go there. So I'm really longing to, for me to be able to go back to them. So then on the positive side, like Lee said, in this time I've met more people in this short space of time than I've most probably met the whole of last year. There's so many new connections that are made. I had a Zoom meeting with a lady from the UK yesterday. I've connected with people all over the world. And then I've realized that the power of social media and networking, which I didn't realize before. I wasn't big on social media, and I know now that's the only way to take my business to the next level and to ensure that I remain or that I grow my business and my business will be successful. So, and then also I think I've come to realize that nothing is certain, that the only thing that's certain is the uncertainty. Yeah, so at this stage, I think I'm more heart sore for for all the people that suffer at the moment, I think, and I feel like the rich are getting richer and the poorer are getting poorer in this day at the moment, and I worry for the people that actually going to die because of hunger and not because of COVID. Thank you.
Thanks, Stella. Yeah, some big concerns, I think, in that area as well, aren't they? Right, Nazipa, let's get across to you.
Morning, everyone. I think I just want to pick up on, Cecile said something earlier about this, I think before I go on to my impact, Cecile had said something earlier about what's happening in the PPE industry. In fact, I was even speaking to a friend yesterday that was explaining how in KZN, they literally shooting each other in order to be able to get this PPE contracts. It's become like a whole mafia setup. So yeah, it's busy like that. I think on my side, I've probably started panicking now. Health-wise, I'm making sure that I'm doing as much as I can to boost the immune system, and everything that must be done, I'm making sure it's done. Like, I think I'm actually obsessing at this point, because the more numbers I see, the more I worry. And I hate also that trust has now become such a huge issue. I had a guy come in yesterday at the house to do stuff around the training system. And I was panicking about what he's going to touch, where he must be, like, the tabs he must. I hated that I've come to that stage. I don't want to find myself at that stage. In terms of work, the impact of this on me as far as work is concerned is throughout the lockdown period, I've been working, I've been busy, but I'm not seeing money. Like, and it's starting to bother me. Like, I'm thinking I probably need to change now my entire business model. I was sitting last week trying to work out a new model, which is going to now be based on collaborations. But also, I think on my side, when I was picking up from my loss the previous year, my strategy last year had been that I would price lower in order to get more work done. But I think now that is catching up with me, because now I'm realizing we really have to change the business model in order to start doing things. I was just saying to someone that, the way I've worked throughout this lockdown, I should be, like, my bank should be visiting me at home by now. But, none of that is happening. I think also part of my pickup strategy was to do a lot of things that I love doing, but making sure that I then get to pick those up where training is concerned. So I've been doing a lot of those things, but now I've got stuff that's not able to move on. I've also got a huge problem with some of the people I mentor and some of the trainings, because some of the people I work with, I do a lot of trainings in the rural areas as well, but those people are not able to pick up online. Like, the online platforms become a mission in terms of where my target is. Whilst we've looked at taking the programs online, but our target is not there yet. So it's sitting down and thinking, what do we do to make sure we get our target up to speed? And these are things that are going to be taking up, obviously, a lot of time, and resources have to be put into it to make sure that it's done. On a positive note, I got an email yesterday. I haven't even shared this news. It's just been amazing. I was appointed yesterday as a mentor for the Entrepreneurship World Cup that is happening, and that's amazing. So that's the one positive thing that's come out of this. I'm still processing it myself, and then I will. Yeah, that's where we are. Thanks.
Well, that certainly sounds like great news, Nazipa. So I wish you the best with that opportunity. Good. Solomon, let's get across to you. I'm not sure if Donovan is able to chat. I've seen he's been on and off and has put some comments in, so we'll try him after you, Solomon.
Morning, everybody. I think I wanted to take a moment to exhort and encourage everybody. I believe that the provision that each one of us need is right in front of us. In this group, there's actually answers to every single challenge that each one of us is facing. There's gifts that are different that we can be able to tap in. So even to Mpo, and I really encourage you that there's time for everything. There's time to cry. There's time to mourn. There's time to be happy. And for you, it's time to really mourn. Please take the time and mourn. Don't stop mourning. You'll actually go through to the other side strong. Even to Lee as well. Lee, we must connect you and I so I can actually try to help you with what you're going through as well. COVID, what has happened with me with COVID? I sell houses. I didn't earn money last year, I think from from April. I only started earning money for last year in January. So I was quite covered financially. I think I should be having problems probably from about September. I'm starting to switch off a little bit into rentals as well and finding creative ways of getting clients. At the moment, I am doing canvassing where I'm finding people that are going through stresses with paying their bonds and all that. And I'm encouraging them to sell because if their houses will go to auctioning, they're gonna actually have a lot of problems where now their credit records it's in a bad space, etc., etc. So if they sell now, then it's a better opportunity so that they still are able to buy in the future. COVID-19 really has brought challenges, but these challenges are not impossible to solve because we are creative beings. So even within me and my family, we spending time together on the piano and just feeling our soul and everybody being encouraged, everybody just learning, especially children, learning to not be selfish anymore and give to the adults as well. So despite the fact that COVID is here and all that, I just feel that there's lots of creativity that is oozing around all of us. We can't die, people, we can't die at all. At this time, when we are having challenges like this, that's when we are thinking most. That's when we are creative most. That's when we actually are powerful. Lots of inventions will actually come. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Solomon. Yeah, and love your positivity around all of this. So well done with that. Donovan, are you with us? Can you speak? Do you want to have a final word before we wrap up? Donovan, are you there?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning, Ivan. Thank you, everyone. I already sent a comment on the chat box, but just to repeat, I already had some, struggles before COVID, so we were planning to relocate, to look for better opportunities elsewhere. Specifically, we were looking at New Zealand. We already went through the process of, consulting immigration consultants, etc., and planning for that. And then COVID came, and obviously, as you know, that there were travel bans, etc. And then I had to basically look at other ways, just to look for, supplementing income. So I'm busy studying online courses in a different industry altogether, looking at a different career altogether. And at the same time, I'm still doing a bit of construction consulting work, but it's not much. Hoping, to realize some other opportunities elsewhere. I'm always positive, looking forward to the next day, to the future. I'm sure things will improve. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. We've gone well over our normal time, but I think it was some important conversations there. So thank you, everyone, and appreciate the.
No, why are you wrapping it up there?
Why?
Don't wrap it up there. What's your opinion?
What's my opinion?
Mm.
All right, boss. I will give you my opinion. Look, I think as Edward said earlier, I think there are a lot of people that are going to want to drift back to their comfort zone to the way things were. I think there's going to be a lot of inertia in that particular area, but I do think that the thinking people in the world are definitely changing and will continue to change and move forward. I certainly believe that these kinds of mediums are going to become more and more pervasive and more widely used going forward. And I think we've got to find the intelligent ways to really leverage them and cut back on wastefulness, which I think is one of Herman's big drives as well, is to the wastefulness of people spending hours and hours in traffic, the wastefulness of people moving backwards and forwards and not really adding value. But by the same token, there are a lot of people whose livelihoods depend on those mechanisms. So yeah, it's going to be difficult finding the right kind of balances going forward, but I think there's a lot of change going to be happening. But I think there's also going to be a lot of resistance from those changes and the desire to go back to the way it was. So I don't have any easy answers, I'm afraid. For me, I think us going forward is there's been a lot of positives coming out of this for us as well, a lot of engagement with international businesses, and I think that's going to continue and develop, and I'm certainly looking forward to making that happen.
So I just want to come in. The reason that I posed the question, I was wondering just how serious people are taking this COVID-19. And this little dipstick survey for me has demonstrated just the depth of concern and how serious this little grouping is. And I think if we magnify that, I think we can now start understanding just how concerned people are out in the marketplace. And I posed the question because I'm having a look at what's happening in the United States and people who go out and do all these protesting and demonstrating and they're not wearing masks and that sort of thing. I don't think this group is of that ilk, to be quite honest. I think we're all going to be the masks. I'm concerned. So I'm concerned about my granddaughters, my family. I'm concerned about them actually picking up COVID-19. I'm really concerned about it. So what's that going to do to me? It's going to keep me indoors. I'm not going to be mingling. I'm not going out. If we go anywhere, I'll go hiking. And then I'm also concerned that income and revenue is critically important for everybody. You just can't drop the generation of revenue and income for most people out there. So being a solutions-oriented individual, I love what the comments have been. There are gifts in this group. And as we expand this group, we can add more gifts to it. But I think the starting point is, well, how do we help people in this group just by sharing some of our ideas? And can we generate revenue generating ideas together? For instance, Lee, when you turned of your daughter and said, hey, this theater industry has collapsed. Well, Dawn and Irene came back to us and said, listen, the conference industry has collapsed and we developed a virtual trade fair. That's taken us globally now. We've got the potential of a global business that's come out of that. So I ask you on behalf of your daughter, why can't you do Zoom theater? What is the theater business? Is she there on the stage? Is she a thespian or is she managing it? Why can't you have 300 people watching a theater production in this small screen? I remember people coming to us and turning around and saying, we're going to watch sport on these things. And people turned around and said, never. How are you going to watch sport on this blooming thing? Now that's all that's done. Why can't you watch theater on a little Zoom screen in a production like this with people all clapping together or singing to that effect? Zoom theater. Why is it not a big objective or potential opportunity? And there's Umpo in the corporate world. There's Umpo Malelo turning around about leadership. There are people here that are natural born leaders. Why are we not turning around and saying, well, why can't we take our local skills and take them global and think scale rather than think small? For me, I just want to say thank you. What it did, I've been concerned, and I appreciate that everyone else is as deeply concerned as I am. And I think we've been avoiding it. That's why I asked the question, and I don't think we've got to avoid it. I think we've got to expand this and magnify it and voice our concerns so that we can come up with solutions.
Thanks, Trevor. And Nazipa, you put your hand up. Do you want to just have a final comment there?
No, it was an error.
All right, good. Okay, thanks. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think that this is obviously a discussion that can go on a lot longer. We've gone on a lot longer this morning already, which is absolutely fine, because I think we've had some great inputs, as Trevor said, and then lots to think about how we can actually turn this positive and start making things happen. So thanks everyone for that. Lee, do you want to wrap up and just tell us what your thoughts are for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, I mean, we have really only touched, I think, people talking personally. And I think not so much to extend this conversation, but to look at maybe what trends do you see happening? Edward and others have spoken about some things are shifting back to what we are normal, because that's what we know and because that's what we feel we you know, you said as well, Ivan, you know, we want to go back to what is change, and you know, it's not change. We don't want to change, but what are the trends? Are there some things that, and the reason why I'm thinking of that is how does it then relate back to what we do, and how do we connect in with those trends, both from a personal, social, and business perspective. So I think there are different things that are happening in our world. I certainly think there's been I read the New York Times a lot, and they use this word upend. They're upending everything all the time. So lots been upended, and what do we do with that? You know, so that's the direction that I'm thinking of going in tomorrow.
Great, thanks, Lee, and thanks everybody else. Great discussion, as I said. I really appreciate it, all the inputs and the personal stories. So have a fantastic day further, and stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you tomorrow.